Welcome to How Hard Could It Be, where I do a themed month and give some of my challenges in the process. What makes a good Spider-Man story? I think this is an important question to ask and inquire about. I've been consuming Spidey media for 2.5 decades now, give or take. Cartoons, movies, comics, even a full novel. I wouldn't so much call myself an expert, but I think maybe I know a thing or two about the wall crawler, or at least our classic Peter Parker versions. Anyways, here goes the 3 main elements to a good Spider-Man story. First off, drama. Specifically, Peter drama. A good Spider-Man story doesn't always involve high stakes for New York City or the world. Sometimes it doesn't even involve stakes for a city block. A good Spider-Man story, however, always, and I mean always, has some sort of stakes for Peter himself. This can take shape in many forms, chief among them his secret identity. Spider-Man's identity is something he holds extremely close to the chest. Even in iterations such as the 2017 cartoon version of the character I recently talked about, iCard or whatever, he doesn't reveal his identity lightly. One of the few times he did willingly was literally life and death. Someone had to be literally dying for Peter to reveal his identity, and that was to Harry, his best friend. Even as the Spider Crew widens in the second season, he still hasn't revealed his identity to Gwen or Anya. This tracks for most of his comics runs and almost all of the cartoons. Spider-Man's identity must be protected, and many of the best Spider-Man stories always have some sort of stakes with his identity. Sometimes it involves the character figuring it out, or another character trying to publicly reveal it. Venom, in particular, takes great joy in attempting to ruin both Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and usually threatens to do so by revealing Peter's identity. The one time Peter revealed his identity was during the Civil War comics. An assassin tried to take out someone. It's not really shown who their sights are on, whether it's Peter or MJ, but the bullet hits Aunt May. Peter proceeds to absolutely destroy Kingpin, holding nothing back and threatening his life with filling his lugs with webbing, finishing the beating with the threat that if May dies, Fisk dies. Chilling. Of course, Status Quo Comics ruin all of this, and One More Day is published, meaning that none of this happened. Peter and MJ are no longer married, and nobody in the Marvel Universe remembers that time that Peter handed Fisk's ass to him so badly that the entire multiverse needed to forget about it. Another aspect of drama for Peter is the little things that always feel major, or the major things that are actually major. Peter's social life is almost always being interrupted by his spider duties. Sometimes he's missing dates or leaving social calls or even just trying to be cool at a party. Peter's relationships often suffer thanks to Spider-Man. The stakes in the 1981 cartoon are famously low for the first couple of episodes as Peter repeatedly misses dates with Betty Brant. And she continues to give him more and more chances. It's silly. And Peter fails each and every one. Sometimes the relationship drama comes about because Peter is actively pushing someone away, like the way Peter pushes away Mary Jane during the first and second Raimi movies, or the end of Amazing Spider-Man and the middle of Amazing Spider-Man 2. He kind of flip-flops like a pancake in that one. The relationship drama doesn't end with girlfriends, however. It's also his friendships, as he misses outings or disappears entirely. Even in that 2017 cartoon, there's a moment in the second season where Harry and Otto are doubting each other's loyalties and their positive qualities while Peter is stuck in the middle, trying to get them both to see past it all and work together. And then there's the Raimi movies, again, where Harry hates Spider-Man but doesn't realize that Peter is Spider-Man, and uncovering that truth just leaves him at a loss. The way Peter is always trying to defend Spider-Man towards other characters like Aunt May, Harry, or Jameson can also be a source of tension. Will he be able to change their mind? Will his defense of Spidey reveal his identity? Will they figure it out? Find out next time on Dragon Ball! Whoops, wrong franchise.
Spider, spider, swinging spider, Spider-Man Z. Ah!
His school life can also be a source of drama, with stakes rising higher and higher as due dates for assignments come to a close. An interesting inclusion in this example is actually in the 1981 cartoon that I mentioned earlier, where Peter is constantly pulled away from working on a history assignment, but then he puts together a visual collage with his spider pictures that he was originally going to turn into the Bugle. A great way to finish out a story, if you ask me. Whether it's simple matters of attendance or a complicated science fair, school can be a great source of drama. Sometimes he's missing classes, falling asleep, or just plain distracted.
Peter Parker. Brilliant but lazy.
When school isn't the source of drama, sometimes money is instead. Peter is famously not well off. He's no Bruce Wayne. One of his early comics depicted him trying to get paid by the Fantastic Four, and he was quite a sourpuss when they told him they worked for free. And well, they're the Fantastic Four, not the Jackson 5. Whether he's hogging his pictures of J. Jonah Jameson at the cost of his reputation, working alongside Otto Octavius, or trying to build his own business, Peter's work life can be at jeopardy thanks to his wall-crawling adventures. This can lead to other hassles, such as... Yes, thank you, Mr. Ditkovich. Spidey has famously tried various ways to cash in on his wall-crawling, such as trying to patent his web fluid, sell appearances, or, most famously of all, wrestling.
Hey, Freak Show! You're going nowhere! I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of playtime!
Money issues can be a source of drama between Peter and other characters, such as when Aunt May tries to offer Peter money in the PS4 game, or refusing help from Harry in 2017's Spider-Man for his, school tuition. Alright, I think that's enough of the drama. Let's talk about the science! Peter loves science. He is an inventor in his own right, with him making his web shooters in the comics, in several of the TV series, and 2 of the movie franchises. In the PS4 game, of course, he's got all sorts of gadgets and gizmos. Impact webs, tether web mines, shockwave blasters, spider drones, electric webbing, web bombs, and even an anti-gravity grenade. He even canonically creates his anti-ox suit in the game. In the comics and many of the subsequent media forms he takes, he invents the spider tracers that work off of his own Spidey sense. Oh, and in the game, he even makes Miles do physics equations and whatnot for web swinging, showing it's not all fun and games. Okay, well, it's all part of a fun game, but that's beside the point. His inventiveness lends well to investigating and building countermeasures to others. Whether it's webbing-wrapped fists or a full electro suit, various forms of armor, a stealth suit, or on-the-fly creations, Spider-Man is almost the Batman of the Marvel Universe. This is especially notable in the 2017 cartoon, as he and his classmates use their smarts to work, well, smarter than not harder, against some villains. Of course, a lot of this has more of a science fiction feel to it, but hey, it doesn't have to be realistic to be fun. We're watching a 20-something spin webs and punch bad guys. Our suspension of disbelief is already hanging by a spider thread. Peter uses that big old brain of his to figure out what his villains are up to much of the time, using it to find where they're at and eventually outwit them in some way. Of course, almost all of Spider-Man's foes have something to do with science as well, whether it's cybernetic suits, genetic modification, robots, super soldier serums, mechanical gliders or wings, robotic arms, or any number of gizmos and gadgets his foes wield. It's very rarely supernatural. There's science vampires, science scorpions, science vultures. There's so much science going on, it's not even funny. Whereas, some of Batman's rogue gallery are medical or psychological doctors, almost everyone in Spider-Man's is a scientist of some sort. Everyone from Doc Connors to Osborn and Octavius. From Arzad Jackson to Warren Miles. I try to go from A to Z, but I could only get as far as W, I'm sorry. What this all leads to is Spider-Man having to suss out scientific plots and do a little detective work, which is always a lot of fun. You're out, Gobby. Out of your mind. The best part about Spider-Man is the jokes, at least to me. The humor. It's a core part of Spider-Man's identity. It's so core to Peter Parker that the Green Goblin can know who it is just by a single comment about dignity and man purses.
And here he is at last, the hero of our little drama, just in time for the thrilling climax. But wait, a twist. The hero isn't one at all. In fact, he never was. Really, Otto, you're just embarrassing yourself with this charade. Granted, you were never really on my level, but being a bad guy suited you. Saving that little lady is your last remaining achievement as Spider-Man. When it all goes boom, you'll have nothing left.
Except the dignity of knowing I never carried a man purse.
It's you.
The one and only. It's not just the acrobatics, the feats of strength, the thwipping webs, or the guilt-ridden backstory that makes Spider-Man who he is. It's the jokes, the humor, the entire demeanor that he puts off and the various reasons behind it. Peter Parker jokes around for a couple of reasons. For one thing, it helps alleviate his own anxieties and fears as he takes on these people that really want him dead. It's a coping mechanism. If it's funny, it's not nearly as scary. Sort of like a Bogart, but with 4 deadly tentacles and a horrible bold cut. I mean, who can take this haircut seriously? Come on, Octavius, go to see a fucking barber. On top of that, it also throws his enemies off their game, disrupts their thinking, distracts them. It tells them, I'm not taking you seriously, you're a joke to me. It causes them to make mistakes, which Spidey can take advantage of. I think that's pretty genius. Of course, the third reason is for the sake of us. The jokes are fun, obviously, and Spider-Man is one of the most hilarious forces in the Marvel Universe, second only to Deadpool, or maybe Deadpool is second to Spider-Man. Now I'll leave that decision up to you. I'm pretty biased towards old Webhead. These are the 3 key elements to a good Spider-Man story, if you ask me. Drama, science, humor. The way these 3 things combine is core to a good Peter Parker Spider-Man story. Now, I don't know nearly as much about the other Spider people, so that may be something to research in the future. When something is missing from, that trio of aspects, it kind of doesn't feel like a Spider-Man story. Anyways, I think that's all I really have to say. No real conclusion here, just wanted to share my thoughts. So, on to the challenges. So, getting in depth on this has taken some time. There's been a lot of challenges, but they've mostly been outside of the video creation side of things. Over time, it's been draining my energy super hard, making it more and more difficult to make anything. It's funny. Last week I was all gung-ho about it, and now it's like the universe itself is trying to make me slam on the brakes. As far as actual video challenges, well, I kinda messed up on my blocking. You know, how you frame the camera and all that. Maybe my blocking was fine, I just couldn't really monitor where I was in the frame due to filming via my phone again. There's some significant areas where I'm way outside of frame where I should be. I could have redone it, but oh well. I'm kind of in a rush to get it out, and I just want to get something done rather than redoing it a dozen times. It's not like it takes away from any of my points. I think one of the most difficult things I've been somewhat struggling with is ways to intercut my videos with cut-in gags or other visual aspects of the visual medium. Sometimes it comes easy, sometimes it's more difficult. I feel like I had a couple of good ones in this video though. Now that the video is over, protect your secret identity, miss your date, barely finish that school assignment, give me those pictures of Spider-Man, do some science, and mock Norman Osborn. It really ticks him off, and it's hilarious.